they found that the group that did do the gratitude journal had more significant improvement in their heart health than those who did not do a gratitude journal. And it just goes to the power of, from a psychological and from a neuroscience perspective, of just how our bodies are wired. We are wired to enjoy good things.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice in business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Sohale. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to hear more about your business, how you got started on this direction. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so born and raised in New Hope, Pennsylvania. A serial entrepreneur since I was 9. My parents immigrated from Iran individually, and they met in the United States. But the goal has always been, how do I build greater access to the inner light? So it started with an HIV idea when I was 9. Ended up going to a PhD lab in high school to study it. Did a nonprofit when I was 18. So it was where we reroute books from kids who have to kids in need. And so I've been on this journey of how do we emanate our own light in a authentic and sincere way. And that's led me now to this project called Soul, which we're making it easier than ever for anyone to build a gratitude habit, which is incredibly powerful for the heart and the mind and the soul.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Isn't it amazing how our callings will show up at a young age? And sometimes it takes us a little bit to figure it out, but lucky you, you've been following that nudge from such a young age. That is so inspirational. I love that. And now I'm super curious to hear more about the beginnings of the business and starting out this platform and all of that. So tell us the details.
Yeah, sure. So 3 years ago, actually, I was a CEO of another company called Illume. And the idea was Illume would illuminate humanity. It was a group celebration card. So let's say it's someone's birthday at the workplace. You go to our site, create a card, invite people to contribute to this digital card, videos, photos, notes, even money for a group gift, nice. And send it to the person. So there was a lot of highs and lows over the last few years. Who knew? And as a founder in particular, it was about navigating those emotional highs and lows. So I had a friend, and she said to me, Sohale, you got to start a gratitude journal. And I don't know about anyone else, but I actually went, I bought the journal, physical journal, and I wrote in it, and I did it up to 5 days. I did it up to 5 days, and then I fell off. And so I started then writing an email to myself of what I'm grateful for, and then schedule sending it. And it would come back into my inbox, and I'd reply to it, and I'd schedule send it again based off of whatever time I felt, would resonate with me. I ended up doing that for 3 years. Wow. And as I was still the CEO of that company, a bunch of friends of mine in support groups, other founder friends have been asking, and discussing advice. How do we find more joy and happiness? How do we show up more fully to others as well as to ourselves? And gratitude was that thing for me. So I shared it with them. That company I was working on, Illume, ends up getting acquired in December. And one of my investors said, listen, we love this idea. If you end up doing it, we're going to back you. And so that's what led to Soul, and this vision of basically reducing the anxiety of 95 million Americans by 2030 starting with the power of gratitude.
That is impressive. And I love this idea. I'd never because I have used sending myself emails to not forget something or whatever, but not for gratitude, because I know it's a tricky thing to keep up with. You start super excited.
Yeah.
And like most things in life, right? Diets or whatever new habits that we're trying to create fall off after a few days. But that strategy really stuck for you enough to follow this path.
Well, I guess so. In the sense that, a lot of times there's 2 points to that. One, in some estimates, they said nearly 90 million Americans have tried and failed at journaling, which makes sense. How many of us have actually done it? So we're not alone. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, if we're able to build that habit, the impact is profound. And I, at first, like everyone else, I heard about gratitude. I know it's important. I did it, but I didn't know how much. The research shows, at least, that you can boost your immune system, your cardiovascular health, quality of sleep, longevity. You can obviously increase happiness, joy, contentment, reduce anxiety and burnout. So imagine just by this simple practice having all these benefits. But here's the question: how do we do that?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the struggle that I think so many of us face, like as you mentioned, dieting or whatever, the similar struggle. We know it's good for us,
Mhm.
but we don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so important for me to bring this to the world. And I think, we're taking that to another level, actually, where we're giving people personalized recommendations to their psychology
Mm.
of classes, rituals, experiences, patterns in their thinking,
Wow.
so they can discover what makes them tick to have
Yeah.
more inner joy.
I love
So
that. I
it's
was
led to
going
a
to
lot of things.
ask the specifics, but before we go there, because something that came to me, because I'm all about personalities and understanding what makes us unique and just
Yeah.
like what you said, what makes us stick. Because we were talking before we started recording with my work in visibility, I noticed that some people love it, but they still have some struggles, but it's different from somebody that's more introverted and really does not want to put themselves out there. It's the struggles, but they're different kinds of struggles. And so my question to you was, is there like a pattern where certain people struggle with keeping the gratitude practice for certain specific reasons and others it's different reasons? Do you know what I mean? Like, have you noticed that? And is that what
Yeah.
this is why you created these different things personalized?
Well, it's a good question, actually. And I think for most of us, the word really comes down to cognitive load and how we
Mm,
manage cognitive
okay.
load, right? So cognitive load is the idea of how many things are on our mind.
Mm,
And when we're running around from this to that to this to that, it becomes way harder to keep a habit.
right.
And so the question then becomes, what are the personality types that are going to be proactive
Mm,
around saying, I got to do this? And those personality types, as you can imagine, are much less than the personalities that, for example, are going to be doing it every single day.
mm,
So, for example, we see on Soul's platform in particular, there's some people every night, because Soul is a text message based tool. So every night, some people, they check their text messages to make sure it's unread, like
mm,
all their text messages. How many of us do that, really?
right. Yeah.
um, but so they're active for sure, like
Uh-huh.
they're very active. And then and another thing that's very psychological, obviously, is this idea of novelty. So if you get something every single day, like every day at 9 a.m., I'm going to write something, right? Very quickly, that becomes boring.
Mm,
And so one of the things that we are tapping into this idea of spontaneity. You just don't know when you're going to receive a
mm,
nudge or a notification to be grateful. And that creates novelty, and the novelty creates long-term engagement. So the point is, just, summary here. It's like,
yeah.
yes, there are certain people who are very good at being sticky at it. Most of us aren't. Um, but there's ways that we can get around it. And if we do that, then we can actually build that habit and reap the benefits of something like gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. I love it. And I do want to hear more specifics about the platform, but I got to go back because the stats that you shared, or just the facts, right, of
Yeah.
the other benefits of gratitude, that it may be kind of like in the back of our minds. I'd love for you to expand on that and maybe tell us why. Why is being grateful so helpful for our physical health, even?
Yeah, so there's a neuroscience perspective to it. There's a psychological side to it. There's a spiritual, there's different elements.
Yeah.
From a neuroscience perspective, you basically have a release of transmitters, whether it's serotonin in particular or dopamine,
Mm.
where you're remembering moments that you've essentially felt loved.
Oh,
That's really it.
yeah.
You're looking at the half glass full.
Mhm.
And so when you bring that into your body feels it. And it's incredible how powerful those neurotransmitters are. And so when they did, for example, I talked about cardiovascular health, they did studies where they had a group of people who didn't have a gratitude journal and a group of people who did have a gratitude journal. And they assessed what was their heart health. And this was two particular groups of individuals who had issues with their heart. And when they looked at the differences in terms of improvement, they found that the group that did do the gratitude journal had more significant improvement in their heart health than those who did not do a gratitude journal. And it just goes to the power of, from a psychological and from a neuroscience perspective, of just how our bodies are wired. We are wired to enjoy good things, and gratitude taps us into that.
Mm.
Second part of it spiritually is that, you know, when we look at, and I think this will really resonate with you in particular, when we start having patterns of looking at things of how our life is full,
Mm.
right? When we start building our minds to see that abundance, that then becomes affirming. And that affirmation then allows our souls to be invigorated, to say, I have, I am, I will,
Mm.
which is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this cyclical cycle of joy. And then there are going to be moments in life where we are a bit down, like, something happens,
Yeah.
or we feel just down. And what becomes the magic? The gratitude journal, rereading that,
Mm.
because then you realize, no, I am so loved. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that moment last week where I was a bit, I got something really great and then it made my day, or it was something even smaller, that coffee that made a difference. And so you're able to reshift your perspective. So it's just incredible from a psychological, scientific, but also from a spiritual perspective. I mean, spirituality, we can get into even deeper. I just really kind of, surface level, but
Yeah.
in nearly every spiritual tradition, gratitude is more, at the core, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, you name it.
Yeah, that is very true. Now, something that popped up as you were talking is we were talking about people starting and then not being very consistent. But what about the complete skeptics? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
you've given us even scientifical based things. But
Yeah.
what do you say to somebody that's like, yeah, I think this is just like woo woo, and I'm more,
Yeah.
a black and white type person. What do
If you're
you?
black and white, go visit the Berkeley Center for Social Good, and check out, the 30 years of research
Mm,
that substantiated the efficacy
mm,
of gratitude. I
mm,
mean, the research is really, really profound and deep.
mm.
Um, that's it for those guys,
Right?
and gals. Uh,
Go look at the research.
Go look at the research. Everyone knows it,
Yeah.
And what's also beautiful is that everyone knows it, not just those who are scientists, not just those who are, have done the research themselves, but then also for thousands of years, you have folks in Buddhism, at the core of Buddhism, talking about it. You have people like in different generations, for example, someone like Anne Frank, who she talked about every night before I go to bed and I journal, I say, thank you, God, for life and for what's beautiful, to, Rumi, who talks about the face shining like the sun,
Mhm.
for those who are grateful. So, I mean, everyone in the world is saying gratitude is amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's really just, how do we do it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and you're helping everybody. So tell us more about Soul. So you said it's text based, it's
Yeah.
spontaneous, right? So it doesn't happen every time, or at a specific time of the day.
Yes.
So how do you go about like getting registered? Tell us more about getting started.
Yeah, totally. So I designed this for myself, which was make my life easy, please.
Yes.
So there's no like, I have to go download an app. I just go on a website. I just sign up. I have three things to ask, three pieces of information: my time zone, my language. We also have this in Spanish, and your phone number, and you get text messages, and you can pick iMessage, WhatsApp, SMS, and they're spontaneous, and you have a gratitude prompt in the text message,
Yes.
and you reply to the text message, right? And what I love about this, again, make my life easy. I can do a voice memo. I can just take a photo of a sunset or a nice flower I saw recently, or I could do a video. I don't even have to type. And if I do have to type, I can use my iMac or my MacBook or my
Yeah.
iPad, right? And type there. And then all of that, all those journal entries are encrypted in an online journal where you can then print those out into a book, mug, or a bracelet. You can, print it out into a digital format. And if you'd like, you can opt in, and this is totally opt in, we are basically leveraging AI to give you psychological insights and as well as spiritual on how you can deepen your own inner joy.
Let me take a quick second to talk to you if you're serious about your visibility. If you really want to take your visibility to the next level, your business to the next level when it comes to visibility without hiring a PR agency, then you need to check out my More Visibility Mastermind. This is a 6-month container, an intimate container with 15 students max, where we get down and dirty with your business, in your business, and I help you really expand your reach. We look into your content strategy, into your speaking strategy, your networking strategy, and as a group or also at a VIP level, we really create a visibility strategy for you. Because here's the thing, if you don't have a solid visibility strategy, you are not helping as many people as you could with your gifts and with your expertise. So go on ahead in the link in the show notes and submit an application and get notified when the doors open next.
So a word map, for example, classes, I think I mentioned maybe earlier, classes, right? Classes, rituals, experiences that are going to deepen you, personalized to you, even patterns of thinking like, oh, Marta, you're thinking like this before you're really grateful. And so you could double down in this particular way.
Ooh, I love that.
So that's how it works. It's super simple. It's easy. It takes like 5 seconds to, not literally 5 seconds, maybe like 20 seconds to sign up. But 65% of people have been using this every single week for the last 35 weeks.
Wow.
And it's because of the spontaneity, because you just don't know when you receive it, because it's so easy. It's right in your text messages.
Yeah.
And so, why not? Right. And I'm happy to gift your audience, 30 days on me. If they want to try it out. It's bringonsoul.com. Friend 30 is the promo. They could try it out if they feel so inclined.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'll make sure and have the link and the code in the show notes. I love this concept of not having to download an app, because I was just talking to a friend the other day and she's like, everything is an app these days and I have no storage on my phone anymore.
Seriously, make our lives easy, to all those people who create technologies, please, and I think the biggest thing is just the impact, right? I mean, this feeling when you feel full, people see you as full.
Yeah.
When you feel content and warm and positive, people see you as warm and content and positive. Mm-hmm. And so it's about how do you manage your own psychology in order to communicate who you are, show up effectively, and then therefore advance your vision and mission to the world more effectively, right? And gratitude does that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a really powerful way of framing it. And if it can be done easily for us, we should do it. That's the way it should be. It should be done easy. No one has to suffer. No one has to go and buy a $30 journal and and feel guilty and feel like it's a chore. Let's put that to the past. We have a new future.
Yes, that's right. And I love the idea too of creating something that you can print off and have it be maybe a memento or something that you can, or an anchor rather, that you could have like on your desk or something like that. So that's super fun too. Do you have any stories, maybe your own personal stories of gratitude, or any users of the platform of something that shifted for them ever since they started being more consistent with gratitude?
Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, one of them that's really touching for me is actually a husband and wife, right? And so they were using it as a way. Well, the wife started first, and she was using Soul as a gratitude tool, and she was frequently just speaking up. Now, her love language is not necessarily words of affirmation.
Okay.
So she would show her love to her husband, acts of service, etc. But words of affirmation was lower on the list. But in her gratitude journal, she was telling me this. I don't know this. It's encrypted. I can't read anything. She was telling me she was speaking a lot more about her husband and just how she was grateful for him. And then she started sharing that with him. And he was inspired. And then he started being inspired and said, well, I'm going to do this for her. And so it became a way for them to deepen their bond. And as you can imagine, for those who are in longer term relationships, to keep that fire of joy and connection alive is work. We know that. And so this was a very, very powerful way for them to do that. And even simply saying like, oh, I'm grateful for this thing intentionally really deepened their bond, their relationship, and their love, and also connected in a way that even transcended those love languages, so to speak. That's extremely touching, right? And then there's plenty of other stories I can share as well for myself and others, but this is one example that's very touching for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, for one, I love that you said, I don't have access and I don't read anybody's.
It's encrypted. It's all encrypted.
If you're on the other side reading their personal entries, you're not. But I love that you brought up the love languages, because it kind of plays into what we were talking about in the beginning, why maybe journaling, even not even just gratitude practice, but journaling comes easier for some people than others, maybe it's just their different way of expressing themselves. But then in starting this regular practice, they can get stronger, especially if their spouses or their close loved ones have a words of affirmation language. So that'll be helpful for their relationship as well. I love that.
And
Well,
also families too, by the way. I would
yeah.
just say dinner table conversation. We
Mm,
send prompts that are unique. And so we've
yeah.
noticed some like parents with their teenagers, having this as a prompt in the dinner table, which is also a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's true. You could do it as a group as well. It pops up and you're like, hey, you can ask around and have that be topic of conversation. That's great. Well, you said you're a serial entrepreneur. You've mentioned about the business you had before officially getting started with Soul.
Yeah.
Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we hear so much in personal development, right? Self-help books, the power of gratitude, start your day with gratitude, especially
Yeah.
as you're talking about building your business. Be grateful for your clients, be grateful for the future clients, and start using some positive affirmation. Can you speak more to that then? Uh, Obviously, you shared the studies and the research, but at times when, you're hoping for that next client to make your income goal or to even pay the bills, it can be a little bit discouraging, right? Why am I writing about something that's not, I need the money right now. I need to sign up this client right now. How can this be helpful, or how can they put themselves in that space and understand that something positive will come out of it?
Yeah. What I've learned personally is that those feelings could be like almost a black hole, like a
Mhm.
trap.
Oh, yeah.
Those feelings of, oh, I really need, X, Y, and Z. And what actually brings more is the joy and the happiness.
Mm.
Because what ends up happening is then I show up to that client or the customer, and I'm showing up full and bright and shiny and happy, and they're more inspired. It's amazing to see how people mirror you.
Yeah,
Like
it
if you
is.
come in and you're smiling, you're happy, and you're like, yeah, and it's not about being always happy for the sake of being happy, but it's also about like, let's be a better version of ourselves
Yeah.
more often than not.
Mhm.
And so with the gratitude, what's beautiful is then when we start rewiring our minds to see more of the abundant, then when we do have, for example, the harder moments, so to speak, or it's easier to then maybe choose to see something as less abundant or scarcity oriented, and we decide to choose on the abundant. We are then not only able to show up for others, but then also for our own selves to then create a cycle of abundance, I would say. And that's what the gratitude practice does. It rewires our minds. I'm going to say something really powerful that changed my life, actually. And this is very part of to the gratitude side of it. So 3 years ago, I had a coach who started analyzing my language.
Mm.
And all my language, this was before my gratitude journal,
Mhm.
3 or 4 years ago. And it was scarcity oriented.
Mm.
It's like, I can't, I don't know, maybe. Like it was where it was using words like fearless versus courageous, like very more
Uh,
scarcity oriented than
yeah.
abundant. And so we started rewiring how I speak.
Mm.
And it was actually really profound because then we started positioning words as abundant oriented and sentences versus like, I won't be able to make it, and saying something like, I'm going to have to miss out,
Mm.
right? Missing out versus I can't versus no,
Yeah.
or so it's really even like something negative could theoretically be framed as
Right.
more positive. And that changed my life because that was a form of gratitude.
Right.
It was revealing to me how I was looking at scarcity in my life versus positivity. And that really changed. I mean, so this is a little bit, about my self-esteem, my
Yeah.
self-worth, how I carry myself, etc. Because this was the words in my mind.
Yeah.
And we were changing that narrative, that tape, that disc,
Mhm.
right? Which then deepened my own gratitude practice and led me to where I am today to be talking to you about this. Just
Yeah.
very much a privilege.
Right. Definitely. And it's all connected too. The way we see the world is how we see ourselves. So it has everything
Yeah.
to do with our own self-esteem and our self-worth and all of that. And I love that you connected a gratitude with abundance, because that's really what it is. When
Yeah.
you're, creating that practice, you're focusing on abundance, and that's what you're attracting more to yourself, focusing on the good, or like you said in the beginning, the glass half full It's all a matter of perspective. I love that. And we've been talking so much about personalities, getting to know yourself, paying attention to
Yeah.
the language. I know you have a free resource. Obviously, people can check out the platform for 30 days free, but you have a resource that helps people get to know themselves better. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, I love this actually. Yeah, it's called the Know Thyself Guide. And basically, what we've done is we've spoken with some incredible coaches, spiritual luminaries, et cetera, to compile all the resources one would actually need to know thyself, to know who you are. Because here's the thing that I struggled with is that there's so much materials out there. There's so much like this resource, that resource, this book, that book.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I actually have to do? And so what this guide, what I love about it is that's what we do. We compile. Okay, here are the apps you should download.
Oh,
Here are
nice.
like if you're interested quizzes, here are the quizzes. Here are the books you should absolutely read. Here are the therapies that people have found super effective. For example, internal family systems. Here's the role of mysticism. Here's the role of psychedelics in knowing yourself. Like really a full-on guide of all the resources you pretty much would need in order to get to know yourself. Even the affirmation and language development and linguistic analysis is written out there for folks who are interested in learning more about language.
Yeah.
And so I cover basically the whole gamut of what you really need to know. And so please check it out. I really hope it'll help you. A lot of people actually love it because they discover resources they never even knew about that are so much better.
Yeah. Oh, that's so impressive. And it sounds super comprehensive. I'll definitely have to check it out, and I'll put in the show notes for people to go and take a look. Now, I do have one last question before you share with us how to find you. Obviously, you shared about the platform as well, and you can share that again. I do have a $1 million question that now I come to think about it, I have not asked my guy guests this question.
Okay.
Because of what I ask, which is what is an empowered woman? But I'll tweak it and I will say, what is an empowered human? So
That's beautiful. I think one who has an inner peace. I believe that inner peace and inner joy, and I put peace with inner light and inner joy, is probably the most powerful person because they are centered. They are determining their own narrative. And versus outsourcing their narrative to the world around them. And I actually talk about this in the Know Thyself Guide because, it's very easy to start treating ourselves differently because the world has told us this. But when we're at peace inwardly, we've made a decision to define who we are and how we want to live. And that is power.
Yeah.
Right? The freedom to be you is power. So that's what I would say. And I think that I would say that's regardless of gender. I think,
That's true. Oh, I love that so much. I love asking this question because every answer is different. I mean, it's similar in some ways, but they're different. And nobody has ever said that an empowered human or woman is somebody that has inner peace, but it is so very true. I love that answer. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
So tell us how we can find you, how we can find the platform. Again, obviously all the links are going to be in the show notes, but I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I mean, if folks are interested in trying Soul out, Friend 30 is the promo for 30 days on me. The Know Thyself Guide is on our website on bringonsoul.com. And they can also follow me on Instagram at So Light, So Bright. I'm open to connecting. However I can support, I'm very interested in it. So, please reach out and we'd love to hear your story too.
Yeah, definitely follow Sohale on Instagram. We're following each other and I love your content. It's very inspirational. So thanks for
Vice
that.
versa.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful message and your beautiful work. Congratulations on all that you have been doing. And thank you for the work that you're doing because it's very needed.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.